Woohoo! Hey, good morning. This is Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Thanks so much for joining me. And we have got so much show to get through today. So good morning, 6:05 a.m. It's a Tuesday morning. You can always text me at 309-451-9299. Find me on YouTube. Just type it in your search bar, Conservative Cat Show, and subscribe today. First, I've got to get to George Stephanopoulos. George Stephanopoulos, he's lashing out at a black congressman because this black congressman refuses to attack Donald Trump. Okay, so he is rage-filled. You could see it in his eyes. So we're going to get to that. CNN is just, they're on one this morning. I mean, I woke up and I was like, wow, what happened to CNN overnight? They're making a very odd claim that Kamala Harris is, quote, a human being. And they're using that as a defense for her flip-flopping on every issue. Right? She says, oh, I don't want to defund the police anymore. But you did want to defund the police. I'm so confused. And you encouraged people to bail out BLM rioters. So I'm confused. It seems like you're flip-flopping on every single issue now that you've announced your run for the presidency. Now you're like a totally different person politically. Like you don't stand for the same issues anymore. I'm so confused. CNN says, hey, it's just because she's a human being. Okay, she can change her mind. We're gonna get to that. But this one was shocking, and it's kind of sad. Under a Kamala-Biden administration, we're starting to see 50% of parents, they've got to choose between food and school supplies this year. This is a report. Over 50% of parents, they have to choose between food and school supplies, which is just so traumatic and sad. So we're going to talk about that. I'm sure that affects you. So we all knew that the media was going to defend Kamala Harris. Okay, this is just her way or their way of defending her. What I'm about to get to here this morning. You knew the media's defense against Kamala Harris was going to be to call every criticism against her a slur. Okay, if anybody criticizes her, the media is trained, weaponized, and they're ready to go. They're ready to call any kind of criticism a racial slur. Okay, then instead of questioning her record, journalismers, what they do, they drag out Republicans on camera and they demand the Republicans to denounce the alleged slur. But when they say, no, that wasn't a racial slur, this was just a criticism, then they can paint the Republicans as racist. Right. They'll be able to say, oh, you didn't denounce that racial slur. Whoa. Let's back up about 10 steps. Who deemed this a racial slur? This is just me criticizing Kamala Harris. Okay, so we knew this was going to happen. She's running as a black, allegedly a black woman. I don't believe she's black. She doesn't believe she's black. She's come out multiple times. I've played the clip several times and said that she is Indian. Okay, but the rub is when you have as many black surrogates as Donald Trump does, this kind of loses its desired effect. This media, how they're trained to make every single criticism of her a racial slur, and then they drag out the Republicans on camera, demand they denounce it. And when they don't, they say, oh, Republicans are racist. See, they won't denounce the alleged or the racial slur. Right? But it's not a racial slur. It's just criticism. Okay, but it loses its effect because Donald Trump actually has a lot of black supporters, actually has a lot of black politicians who are all for him. So when something white journalism or George Stephanopoulos, he had to learn that this is not getting the same desired effect as he had hoped. He had to learn this when he went on the attack and he attacked Congressman Byron Donalds live on air. Representative Donalds, if you're watching, he's the one on the right. He's got the red tie with the white shirt. Okay, he's the black guy. And this is white George Stephanopoulos. And I want you to Take a listen to the rage that's in his voice. Let's take a listen.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, one second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer. He talked about it on the stage yesterday in Atlanta for what, 2 minutes? He spent more than 35, 40 minutes going after her record, talking about how radical of a senator that she was. She was the most liberal senator in the United States, in the United States Senate. That is a fact. He talked about the job that she did as vice president of the United States, a job, I will add, which has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to glom on to this that he talks about in jest or in a serious manner for about a minute or so, but what you do not cover is the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. That's what you're not covering, George.
So questioning somebody's racial identity for a couple minutes is okay?
George, I'm going to tell you again, he brought it up. AP is the one that wrote the headline when she first came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about her being black, talked about her being the first Indian American senator. AP brought that up. I mean, George, we could have this conversation for the entire segment, but none of this matters to the American people. What matters to the American people is, are we going to have the same policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has been destructive of the American people, or are we going to have the policies of the Trump administration, which put America first, had low inflation, prosperous Americans, no matter your race, no matter your color, no matter your creed, and a foreign policy that kept America safe? Those are the facts that truly matter, because this issue is going to come and go. The lives of the American people is what's going to remain, and that's what matters more than anything else.
If it doesn't matter, I don't understand why you keep on repeating it, why the president keeps on repeating it, why those introducing the president yesterday
George,
keep
actually,
on repeating
I'm not
it.
the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now. That's
You've done it, sir.
You've done it.
You've done it 3 times. Every single answer you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
Asked me, George. That's why I'm pushing back on you now. George, you asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but
and every single time you repeat the slur. That is exactly my point. You simply can't say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris, because those are the facts. You can go to the internet and look at the clips, George, if you want to, or we can talk about this now. I prefer to talk about the future of our country, because the American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
Okay. So I wanted to share that. If you missed it last week, there's this issue that's arisen on social media, whether Kamala Harris is actually black or, because she is actually half Indian. Okay. So her father is, everybody says Jamaican. I don't know, Bohemian, same difference. The point is, this woman is a chameleon. She's everything to anybody as long as it helps her get into a position of power. And that's exactly what J.D. Vance said. I want to share this with you, this quick clip. This is a good one. So listen to the end. Here we go.
The former president's comments yesterday to the National Association of Black Journalists, where he said that Vice President Harris is, quote, all of a sudden black. As a father of 3 biracial children, did those comments give you pause at all?
They don't give me pause at all. Look, all he said is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She goes to Georgia 2 days ago. She was raised in Canada. She puts on a fake Southern accent. She is everything to everybody, and she pretends to be somebody different depending on which audience she's in front of. I think it's totally reasonable for the president to call that out, and that's all he did. I mean, look, she's running as a tough on crime prosecutor, even though she implemented open border policies. She's saying that she wants to support the police, yet she wanted to defund the police just 3 years ago. It's totally reasonable to call out the fact that she pretends to be somebody different depending on the audience she's talking to.
Okay, there you go. This was, an incredible clip. I really thought that J.D. Vance did it the right way. The media decided that all ways are racist. You can't criticize Kamala Harris and the fact that she just flip-flops. I mean, she's the one who called herself an Indian. AP, the Associated Press, they're the ones who deemed her the first Indian American senator. Okay, so also racist is calling Kamala Harris extreme, radical, liberal, and, and just saying, hey, she has called herself Indian American. Apparently that's racist. And nobody is going to hold her accountable for any of the words that came out of her mouth prior to announcing her run for president. George Stephanopoulos, he was focusing on the half Indian thing. Like many white progressives, he expected the black men to dance for him and attack Donald Trump. But instead, Byron Donalds, he turned it around. He said, look, the American people don't care about this. It doesn't really matter. The president mentioned it. What he also mentioned was that Kamala Harris is the reason behind massive inflation that's destroying black families. He also mentioned the inflation is destroying white families, Hispanic families, everybody in America. And it's her failure as a border czar that has left our southern border wide open. And then he also talked about, for 30, 40 minutes prior to the Indian thing in this interview with the National Association of Black Journalists, he talks about the 10 million illegal immigrants coming into our country, the record inflation. Then he talked about the record fentanyl coming into our country, killing Americans. Okay. And more than any other point in history, our country is dealing with a huge, huge fentanyl problem specifically. And George, he disrespected his guest, Byron Donalds, and he asked Byron Donalds the same question 3 times and accused him of throwing slurs at Kamala. No, saying that she has presented herself all the way up until this point in time when she announced that she was running for president. She has called herself an Indian American. That is not a racial slur. That's just factual. So during the white women for Kamala Zoom call, white women were instructed to never correct black women. Stephanopoulos must have missed that part in the white dudes for Kamala call, because Stephanopoulos here obviously was trying to correct Byron Donalds. And I think he needs to check his inherent racism. George Stephanopoulos is white, and he was treating Byron Donalds with his inherent racism. He was critiquing, correcting Byron Donalds there. The white journalismer kept bringing up the alleged slur and kept yelling at the black congressman. Byron Donalds attempted to try to keep the conversation where it mattered. He wanted to talk about the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. And I'm watching this clip and I'm thinking to myself, wow, the hatred in this guy's eyes, George Stephanopoulos' eyes, was something straight out of the 1940s when Democrat Senator Robert Byrd entered politics for the first time, organizing the Ku Klux Klan. I'm just going to be honest with you. His eyes says it all. Okay. And only in Joe Biden's America, folks, only in Joe Biden's America can a white Democrat operative like George Stephanopoulos rise through the rankings of mainstream media with so much hatred in his heart. And I know his mouth said, let me finish. Now, let me finish, Byron. Let me finish. But his eyes showed what he was thinking. And I think he was thinking something else the entire time. All right, I've got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. I'll be right back. Woohoo! Good morning. This is Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Today's show, I'm going to fact check the pathological liars who are running that Kamala HQ account on X. Look, they are trying, and I really want to clarify this debate drama for you, because the media is pretending that Donald Trump is backing out of debating Kamala Harris, which just couldn't be further from the truth. Since Harris was selected as a presidential candidate, Kamala HQ has been racking up millions of views. So Kamala HQ is an account on X, and they have been, lying about the fact that President Donald Trump is backing away or trying to run away from a debate with Kamala Harris, and racking up millions of views. This is only done, and they're only getting millions of views, and this is possible because of, big tech. Big tech is on their side. They'll never be censored. I know that they're on X, but they're also on other platforms as well. And Google, right? Big tech is on their side. So they can just make a claim, and they know that they won't be called out because big tech will act like it's true even though it's not. That's the way it is. So one of their bogus claims is they're claiming Kamala HQ. Now this is just campaign supporters and people who are on the campaign. They're out there claiming that Trump is running away from debating Kamala Harris, which is nothing more than a lie. Trump committed to debating her on July 23rd before she even got the delegate votes. Okay. So here it is, according to The Hill. Harris, for president co-chair, Cedric Richmond is his name, responded to the comments saying Trump needs to man up. Quote, he's got no problem spreading lies and hateful garbage at his rallies or interviews with right-wing commentators, but he's apparently too scared to do it standing across the stage from the Vice President of the United States, Richmond said. He also goes on, he says, since he talks the talk, he should walk the walk. As Vice President Kamala Harris said earlier this week, say it to her face on September 10th. She'll be waiting to see if he shows up. Okay, firstly, the ABC debate was previously scheduled with Sleepy Joe Biden, okay, not Kamala Harris. So this ABC debate was supposed to be with Joe Biden on September 10th, okay? Trump claims it's conflict of interest to hold that debate because Trump is in litigation against the ABC network and George Stephanopoulos, okay? So he's in litigation with ABC, the ABC network, and he can't do it with George Stephanopoulos. He's in litigation. So that's as a previously scheduled debate. Now, Trump, he challenged her to debate on July 23rd before she even got the delegate votes, which was another scheduled debate, but she wouldn't do it because of it being on Fox News, probably. I don't know, but I'm speculating that's probably why. Media coverage is so bad here, and if an alien were to be landed here on planet Earth, you would think that everyone is a woke leftist. Okay, that's just not true. That's how bad the media coverage is. Half of the country is just like you. Half of the country is just like you, but they don't want people to catch on to that. They don't want you to be able to find information. They want you to be alone. They want you to feel alone. Okay, so it's pretty pathetic that the media claims Trump is the one trying to get out of the debate, since she's the one who lacks a non-scripted interview. Every appearance or interview that she's done, it's been scripted. Kamala is the one who's running scared, and it's going to get worse. They're going to get dirtier, and there's going to be more tricks. Okay, so this is just the beginning where they're trying to get out and say that Donald Trump is running scared and that he denied debating Kamala Harris, which just isn't true. She did. She denied doing it on July, what was it? What did I say? 23rd. Okay, she wants to do the one on September 10th, but he can't do that one because he's in litigation with the network there. So he challenged her before she even secured these delegate votes. Now she hasn't secured them officially because the DNC is in the coming weeks here, but Kamala is the running scared. So why are they so comfortable lying? It's so easy to fact check this, okay? Because Donald Trump came out and he said, hey, I'm going to debate you July 23rd. You better be there, Kamala. And she's the one who ran scared and decided not to show up to that debate. And the people who bring this up are just going to be removed. People who put this out there on Facebook or on YouTube, they'll just be removed. If you say, hey, I've got the receipts here, Trump, he came out and he challenged Kamala Harris to a debate. This Kamala HQ campaign is also out there. They're showing footage of the Atlanta rally, the only rally she's really done that has had a crowd, Kamala Harris, and they're out there showing footage of a Trump arena before people even started showing up to his rally. I think it was in Pennsylvania, and they're showing footage of that arena before people even showed up. And they're comparing it side by side with Kamala Harris's Atlanta rally, which is so misleading because the only reason why Kamala Harris had that many people at the Atlanta rally is because she had, what's her name, Megan Thee Stallion, and it was a free concert, right? That's why so another absurd claim is that they're making is that Republicans are switching sides. They're switching over to Kamala Harris. However, the best they could do is to back this up, this claim, is to get a registered Democrat who ran for office as a Democrat to claim that he was jumping ship. Okay, so I mean, they've got one guy, two guys where they're a registered Democrat. He ran for office for Democrat, and he says that he's jumping ship and he's, going for Kamala instead. So, I mean, it's just absolutely wild, the lengths at which they'll go to try to back up these claims. But she's the one running scared. They're paying social media influencers. If they weren't scared, they wouldn't be paying social media influencers upwards of $20,000 to attempt to grab these naive voters on TikTok. And this is a very, they are designing this to make you feel like you are alone. That's what this is all about. If you you could easily fact check this stuff. Donald Trump was the one who came out and challenged Kamala Harris to a debate, and she didn't want to go through with that debate on July 23rd. She wants to do the September 10th one, but Donald Trump is in litigation, and that's why he can't do it. Okay, so, and then they're paying social media influencers. It's all designed to make you feel like you're alone, like you're the crazy one. And like I said, if aliens came down to planet Earth, if you went just by media coverage, you would think that everybody's just a woke lefty, and that's just not true. Half of the country is just like you. So even if they win, this is cheating. I feel like they're cheating. Even if they win, it's not going to be from and through a legitimate primary. They're not going through proper financial protocol. They're not taking press questions. They're not doing debates. They're removing any kind of criticism. And really, this is going to be a dishonest victory. This is going to be a victory that wasn't come by in a diplomatic way. She's all about diplomacy. This is not diplomacy. All right, I do have to take a quick break, but when we come back, I do want to talk about CNN. They're on one this morning. CNN, the host makes this weird claim about Kamala Harris. So you know how Kamala Harris has flip-flopped. Apparently, she's this big moderate. She's even more moderate than Joe Biden. That's just false. But she's been flip-flopping on every issue. So she says, I wasn't for defunding the police. Actually, I'm totally for a secure border, even though under her watch, it's turned into an unmitigated disaster. But CNN makes this really weird claim that Kamala Harris is just a human being, okay? Leave her alone. She can totally flip-flop on every issue. So we're going to get to that. And then I do want to get to a study that recently came out. It's a report that says that over 50% of parents have to choose between food and school supplies this year. It's about that time. You got to go and get your kids back to school. We'll be right back. This is Conservative Cat.
They took or they let it happen. See the Secret Service agents? Yeah. They're angry and they put smiles on their face. Right. You heard about that? Yeah, no. That's just terrible. Yeah, I know. But that's how easy it is to manipulate. It's a little bit scary. Yeah, it is. Very scary. We need like a system where we can quickly fact check things and see if it's real and authentic. And right now they don't have that. No, they don't. So I know we're not going to drive anywhere, but I was wondering if you wanted to like listen to like a song in here. All right, cool. This is how you open it up. It is. Yeah, I'll get on the other side.
Woo! Woohoo! Wowza! Good morning. It is a Tuesday morning, 6:41. We have so much to get to. I'm going to unpack this post. It's a really weird, bizarre post that the Democrats posted on their page, and it's of Kamala Harris, okay? And it's a very blurry photo of Kamala Harris, but in the background, there's all these Michelle Obama signs. Now, this was a photo from back in 2008. Okay, the fact checkers got out there and they were like, "Hey, this is a 2008 photo," but it was recently posted by the official Democrats page. Okay, will Michelle Obama be the DNC nominee for 2024? I think we need to get ready, folks, because this photo is very interesting. It's not a good photo of Kamala Harris, but it's like this blurry photo of her. There's a bunch of Michelle Obama signs in the background. Why are the Dems posting this? Why would they be posting something like this? So we're going to unpack that photo here coming up in just a little bit, but I wanted to get to CNN, because they're on one this morning. Kamala is one of the most radical politicians in American history. That's a fact. She's further left than Bernie Sanders. And the only thing that she stands for is giving more power to the government, which makes her nothing more than a dangerous puppet for the powers that be. And while she stands on the wrong side of every major political issue, it wasn't until she was selected as the presidential candidate that her campaign informed the masses that she was actually more moderate than Joe Biden. I'm going to call baloney on that one. Okay, so until she was selected to be a presidential candidate, up until this point, they've said that she's, far left. She's even been pro-Palestine, right? But these radical terrorists ravaging the college campuses across the nation. She's been in support of them up to this moment. But apparently now that she's the presidential select candidate, she's more moderate than Joe Biden. So it's unclear why it takes a presidential election to go from vowing to defund the law enforcement to acting like she never said that. But apparently it has something to do with the fact that she is a human being. So Senator LaFonza Butler, she was on CNN talking about this, and she was informing the American people that we shouldn't be concerned with Kamala Harris changing her mind all the time, okay? Because she is a human being, and hey, because she's a human being, she's learning new things every day. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
In the 2020 primary, the vice president praised the defund the police movement, and now she says she doesn't support defunding the police. She called for decriminalizing crossing the border illegally. Now she supports President Biden's policies for clamping down at the border. She supported Medicare for all at one point, eliminating private insurance, and her campaign says she doesn't support that now. She's reversed herself on a fracking ban. What do you think that voters should think when she's reversed herself on several issues just in the last 4 years?
I think that voters should think that she's a human being who learns new things every single day. And has the ability to take the time and effort to hear the concerns of all people. I think that they should be certain that she is a fighter and a leader who's going to do the work on their behalf to ensure that there is an economy that ensures that no one is left behind, that there is a climate, that we're going to continue to address the climate crisis in a way that ensures that there is an earth here for young people and for next generations of leaders. I think that they should absolutely believe that she is a leader who cares about people and who's going to put them first, as she has done her entire career.
So no concern about flip-flopping?
No concern about flip-flopping. This is our country changes every single day. The conditions of our country changes every single day.
Okay, so the fact that being a human is the best excuse her campaign could come up with. I mean, this is rather telling, folks. This is the best excuse you could come up with. So this was during the State of the Union show. CNN host Dana Bash brought up the Harris policy reversals on issues such as defunding the police, illegal immigration, Medicare. Bash asked this Senator Butler what voters should think about all these policy changes. Is she flip-flopping? And this Democrat senator responded that the vice president is human and she learns new things every single day. And who cares? How dumb are these people? She responded that people should just think that she is human? More importantly, how dumb do they think we are? So all it takes is a presidency to actually fight for the American people, despite not doing any of that her entire political career. Right. Okay, whatever you say. Okay, so now she's, taking up all of these, different policy issues, and she's on the right side of policy for the American people. All of a sudden, she didn't do that her entire political career, but, a presidency. Oh, she's going to be on the right side of policy now, folks. How dumb do they think we are? And this is what really got me in that interview. Okay, so here's the quote. There's a climate, and we're going to continue to address the climate crisis in every way that ensures that there is an earth here for young people and for next generations of leaders. Butler continues, she says, I think that they should absolutely believe that she is a leader who cares about people and who's going to put them first, as she has done her entire career. That's it's beautiful. It's amazing. Wow, the left is really claiming, and that with this senator is claiming that the earth is going to cease to exist if Kamala Harris is not selected as president. Absolutely incredible. And instead of claiming she puts people first, as she has done her entire political career, can we get some evidence to back that up? Because I don't think she puts people. She definitely doesn't put women first, because she made it to where male inmates can be housed with female inmates and exposed to dangerous men while serving their time in prison. She said that she was the catalyst to that, and that she was one of the first to get it to where trans men, or trans women, I guess you call them, men who want breast implants. She was one of the first politicians to make that happen. Okay, to where trans inmates can get biological surgeries and hormones. Tell me how you put people first again, because you definitely don't put women first and their health and their safety first, because all we get are empty promises and a lack of policy to stand on from these people, while demanding that we understand that they're human and that she's human. This is just incredible. No, there is no concern about flip-flopping, is what the senator says. This is part of our country changes every single day. The conditions of our country changes every single day. The vice president has been consistent in her values, and there's a lot of different ways to solve challenges that are in front of us. We've got to make sure we have a candidate who's listening, and a leader who, frankly, again, puts people first. Yeah, okay. Kamala Harris is not putting the American people first. The whole flip-flopping on every single issue wouldn't be so bad if they didn't pretend half the time that she was never on the other side of the spectrum, too, by the way. I don't believe this whole, I'm just human, I'm changing my mind thing, because half of the time they lie and they pretend that she never wanted to ban fracking. She did. They said she was never for that. They also say, while also vowing that, they're going to save the earth through measures that will almost certainly involve banning fracking. So in the same breath, they lie. They say they don't want to ban fracking, but then they also vow that they're going to save the earth through these measures. And inevitably, these measures, these policies that they want to put in place to save planet Earth, these green weenie policies, it's going to ultimately ban fracking. So logic is not logicking here. Okay, but what else is new? All right, I've got to take a quick break, but when we come back, more on CNN, and I do want to talk about how 50% of parents right now, they have to choose between food and school supplies. It's that time of year. I'll be right back. Hey, good morning. This is Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. You can always text me at 309-451-9299. Before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about CNN. This whole flip-flopping Kamala Harris has done on every single issue, whether that's law enforcement, defunding law enforcement, illegal immigration, Medicare. She has flip-flopped on every single one of her policies, and she is not consistent in her values at all. And she's been flip-flopping. Okay. Now, what's CNN's excuse? How do they run to the defense of Kamala Harris? They say, oh, she's just human and she changes her mind sometimes. What? And like I said, the whole flip-flopping issue, it wouldn't be an issue and it wouldn't be so bad if they didn't pretend that she was never on the other side of the spectrum at a point. Okay. So she says that she never wanted to ban fracking, but that's so untrue. She did want to ban fracking. Okay, and if Republicans did this, they would be on a media campaign, and we would never hear the end of it if the Republicans' response to concerns about Trump was, oh, he's just a human. We're going to be right back at the top of the hour, so don't go anywhere. We're going to come back, and I'm going to talk about parents not being able to afford school supplies and food at the same time, and we've got more on the way. On Conservative Cat. I want to also talk about Elon Musk and the reason why he didn't interview a sit-down, reasons why he endorsed President Donald Trump. We're also going to get to this a little bit later on. A black barbershop doesn't like Kamala Harris, so CNN's white host goes on the attack and says some pretty racist things, actually. So we're going to chat about that. You can always text me and find me on YouTube. That's The Conservative Cat Show. It's real easy. Just type it in your search bar, Conservative Cat Show. Hey, if you're watching, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I so do appreciate it. We are going to get to Elon Musk laying out 7 reasons why he's endorsing Donald Trump. Also, a little bit later, somebody from ABC actually went to a black barbershop because if you want to get to the heart of the issues, really, you just go to any barbershop. It doesn't have to be a black barbershop if you want. But they want to get on the bandwagon. A lot of people, want to be seen as one of the guys, one of the people. So this ABC journalismer gets in a Air Jordan T-shirt and starts interviewing people in this barbershop. And it turns out that a lot of people in this black barbershop don't like Kamala Harris. So the CNN white host uses this ABC video. And he goes on the attack and he starts ripping into these black men who say that they're not for Kamala Harris. Okay, so I'm going to chat a little bit about that. But prior to getting into that, I want to talk about more George Stephanopoulos lashing out at this black congressman, Byron Donalds. And he's mad because Byron Donaldson wouldn't go and attack Donald Trump. Okay, so we knew that this was going to be the media's playbook where, they don't defend her policies. They don't defend Kamala Harris on any of her policy decisions or any of her values, but rather they go after Republicans and say that they have said and accuse them of racial slurs because she's black, right? And this is already starting to happen. Journalismers, they've drugged Republicans like Byron Donalds in front of camera, and they've tried to get them to denounce the racial slurs that Donald Trump has waged against Kamala Harris, which just isn't true. They're not racial slurs. It's just criticism. Okay. Kamala Harris has said that she's Indian American, and it's not racist to say, hey, up to this point, she's always said that she's Indian American. All of a sudden she's black, which I don't really care. This is what, Trump literally said, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter to me. But I think it's interesting that she has said that she's Indian American all this time. But now all of a sudden she's black. And he points that out. And I don't think that that's racist at all to point that out. Okay, so George Stephanopoulos, he had to learn, that this whole accusing Republicans of saying racial slurs and getting them to denounce it on TV. It's old, it's boring, it's tiring, and it's losing its desired effect because people are starting to wake up. They're starting to realize, maybe Trump isn't the racist that everybody says he is. So Byron Donalds, he's the one in the red tie here in this clip, and he he just lays it out. He says, look, this is not something that the American people really want to focus on. He says it doesn't matter. The president mentioned it, that she's Indian American. He also talks about far more frequently and for a longer period of time, 30 to 40 minutes in that clip, about how Kamala Harris is the one who created this mass inflation that people are dealing with. It's destroying Black families. It's destroying just families in general, white families, Hispanic families. Her failure as the border czar has left our southern border wide open. Tens of millions of illegal immigrants have come into this country. Record fentanyl is pouring into the country, killing more Americans at more than any other point in history. Okay, fentanyl is a huge killer. So George, he disrespects his guest, Byron Donalds. And he asked the same questions 3 times, actually. And he says, and accused him of throwing racial slurs at Kamala Harris because he wouldn't denounce what Donald Trump had said, which is so bizarre. It wasn't a racial slur that Trump said. All he said was, she's up to this point, she's said that she's Indian American. Grabbing a quick sip. Now, apparently George Stephanopoulos missed the white women for Kamala Harris Zoom call. You guys remember that when I was talking about that last week? There were a bunch of white women on this call. It was a ton of them, like 160,000. And they were instructed by the call leader or by the call host, the Zoom call host, to never correct Black women. Right. So Stephanopoulos, he must have missed this phone call or missed this Zoom call. And this white journalismer, George Stephanopoulos, the truth is racist. Yeah. Reality is racist. Everything is racist. Look, if everything is racist, then nothing is racist. But this white journalismer, George Stephanopoulos, he kept bringing up this alleged slur, which I hate even calling it. It's just criticism of Kamala Harris. But he kept yelling at a Black congressman, right? So Donalds, he attempted to keep the conversation on what mattered. Hey, inflation. Let's talk about the job that she's done as vice president. A job, I will add, that has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to cling on to this, Kamala Harris Indian American comment that Donald Trump made. But let's talk about the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. That's what you're not covering there, George. And like I said, the hatred, let me just show you the hatred in this guy's eyes. You can tell that this guy is not very happy with Byron. Like, look at the hatred here. Hold on. You can see this. Like, he is so mad at Byron Donalds. It's not even funny. But yeah, it's incredible. And you've got CNN running interference here. They're trying to say, oh, Kamala Harris is human because of her flip-flopping. She gets to change her mind because she's a human being. Look, I wouldn't be even mad at that, but she has denied ever holding these positions in the past. Okay, the positions she's flipped from, she's denied ever having those positions in the first place. Woo! Good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal, 7:05 a.m. It's a Tuesday, and you really can't make this crap up, okay? So, like I said, the flip-flopping, I wouldn't be that mad about it, but Kamala Harris, she denies ever being on the side that she's flipped from. Okay. I wouldn't be upset had she not pretend like she was never on the other side of that issue. So, for example, banning fracking. She lies. She pretends that she was never wanting to ban fracking. But at the same time, they still push measures, that they say will save the earth. But these policies are definitely going to involve banning fracking. Okay, so imagine if a Republican responded to concerns about President Donald Trump. Oh, he's a human being. He's allowed to flip-flop. These people would be outraged. These people would launch an entire media campaign and we would never hear the end of it because Kamala Harris has certain insignificant birth traits or skin color. Nobody cares about or nobody cares that she flip-flops or has no consistent values at all. We're just supposed to give her a pass because she is a certain race. That's what this is about, and you can't make this crap up. The left used to try to make their propaganda believable, conceivable, but they're not even doing that anymore. They're not even pretending to care. Man, that's just incredibly pathetic. When is the last time you heard that 50% of parents had to choose between groceries, bills, or school supplies? Because, and on top of that, a third of families not even able to afford to pay for any of it at all. Groceries, bills, school supplies at all this year, a third of those parents. So 50% of parents in the United States, they cannot afford between groceries, bills, and school supplies this year. This is a new report. I've never heard of such a phenomenon in my life. I've never heard of this. It was supposed to only happen in countries, third world countries, developing nations, right? Not here in the U.S., right? This is a country dedicated to economic freedom, to economic dreams. But hey, it's the status quo while Harris is de facto president. It's the status quo under a Biden-Harris regime that 50% of parents can't they have to choose between groceries and school supplies this year. That's terrible. Half of parents surveyed indicated that they will have to sacrifice groceries and not pay certain bills so they can afford school supplies this year. Okay, it's reaching nearly 60% for Gen Z and millennial parents. This is truly tragic. And according to Live Fox, which I'm going to play here in just a second, really, this is Kamala-nomics. Okay, Bidenomics, Kamala-nomics. We know that the stock market is crashing. This is all due to Bidenomics and Kamala-nomics. Okay, so half of parents surveyed recently by Credit Karma revealed that they plan to sacrifice the necessities. I want to share this clip for you, just the reporting on it, and they go through the survey here. So let's take a listen.
Back to school shopping for their kids this year.
A new study conducted on behalf of Credit Karma shows 50% of parents plan to sacrifice necessities in order to get enough school supplies. That includes sacrificing groceries and paying bills. A national report finds families are now spending an average of $874 just on school supplies and electronics.
Nearly 1/3 of parents say they cannot afford back to school shopping for their kids.
A third of parents say that they can't afford it at all. So the survey that I'm talking about here, this is a new one. It looks at Gen Z and millennial parents specifically, and that figure then jumps up to 60%. Okay, so just across the board, we're looking at about 59% of parents, I mean, this is bad. They surveyed 1,000 U.S. adults, and they conducted this survey between July 19th and 28th of this year. So 59% of parents with children under 18 said that due to high cost of living, they plan to spend more money on back to school supplies shopping this year. 800 some odd bucks on school supplies. This is happening while Kamala Harris is in charge, by the way. And although we have not heard about how she plans to end this is the status quo. We've been living through this for 3 years now at this point, this record high inflation. At this point, it's life. Okay, this is life under the Kamala-nomics and Bidenomics that they tout. This is happening while Kamala Harris is in charge. And she has not given us any kind of plans on how she plans to end this for the American people. We can be sure that if she gets into the presidency and if she's a president, then everybody is going to be much worse off. Okay. And she has not said how she's going to fix this. Inflation has created affordability challenges for many parents, with 31% saying they're unable to afford back to school shopping for their kids. Okay. So a third of them say, I can't even do it. I don't know what I'm going to do. Little Timmy is just going to go without his pencils today. This is particularly true for younger parents. Okay, younger parents are having even a harder time. 39% of Gen Z, 37% of millennials. Compare that to 28% of Gen X and 18% of boomers. So younger parents are really having a hard time with the back to school and really just groceries and life in general. According to CNN's, Harris has vowed to take on price gouging. So I told you that she has not really told us how she's going to end this status quo of living in poverty, really, and this attack on the middle class. She hasn't told us how she plans to end Bidenomics, really, because she's just touting it. But this is what she says she's going to do. She's going to take on the price gouging, and she's going to ban more of these hidden fees and surprise late charges that banks and other companies use to pad their profits. This is a direct quote from CNN. According to CNN, she vowed to take on price gouging. So while you can't even afford school supplies, let alone a concert ticket or movie tickets, she's dedicated her efforts to ticket fees, okay, and to bank fees or late fees. While she puts you in the negative. Okay, this is not going after the fees. These little tiny fees is not going to make or break the bank. She is the one putting you in the negative, and these little fees are like pennies. Okay, so additionally, she has, quote, proposed providing middle class and working families a refundable tax credit of up to $6,000 per year per couple. And most likely, I haven't looked at the income bracket where you could qualify for this child tax credit, but most of the time the middle class they don't qualify in receiving tax credits like this, though she might say it's for the middle class, but really it's for people with like a joint income of about $65,000 per year, which is ridiculous, right? That's not middle class anymore. That's like poverty level, right? But it's not for the working class families, it's for poverty level people. So when they say, oh, it's for the middle class, it's really not. Okay, you got to look at the income thresholds and who qualifies for these tax breaks. Because a lot of times it's not, it's not a majority of Americans. So she says that this would be paid at this $6,000 per year, that this is going to help middle class working families, which we've already gone through. It probably doesn't, but I'd have to look at the breakdown of it. But she said that it's going to be paid in installments of up to $500 monthly, which is nothing compared to the $12,000 more annually people need to just make ends meet. That's what people need, $12,000 to just make the ends meet, okay? And we can almost be sure that the cost will more than triple if Harris is installed as president. Okay, so that $12,000 that we need to make ends meet, every average American household needs $12,000 more annually. Most likely, she's going to raise costs so much to where, that goalpost just keeps moving and moving, and we need more than $12,000. So Americans, we wouldn't even need this money had it not been for the fake efforts to reduce inflation. They just keep spending. That's why inflation is so high. It's very clear. It's like third grade economics, okay? You spend money you don't have, you're going to cause inflation, and that actually exponentially increased the inflation. Okay, their efforts, the Reduce Inflation Act or something, the Inflation Reduction Act, that actually exponentially increased inflation. So CNN also reported that Harris called housing a human right, and it's unclear how they're going to pay for that housing, but you better believe that it won't make housing cheaper, not for you and me or for anyone really. And it's not going to put any more money into people's pockets. So they have a spending problem. They have a spending problem. That's why inflation is so high. They're suckling at the teat of the taxpayer. And basically, the reason why Americans can't afford basic school supplies or groceries, it's because of the utter failure of the Biden-Harris administration. And it's a pathetic joke that Dems claim that more of the same is going to fix that. These child tax credits, it's not going to, or these, working class, middle class tax credits, the $6,000 per year. It's just like J.B. Pritzker. I've told you multiple times. He, at a state level, signed something and he touted it. He was like, oh, the child tax credit, it's going to lift all kinds of kids out of poverty. But when you sit down, do the math, and then you figure out who this tax credit actually applies to, you're like, okay, it doesn't even really apply to that many Illinoisans. And then it doesn't even really give you that much money at all. It's $300 a year. Right, at the state level, this child tax credit you recently signed, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, that's like 20 cents a day. That's it. Okay. They literally throw pennies at you and they expect you to be like, oh man, yes, I'm going to vote for you. I'm going to keep voting for you because you threw these pennies in my face. But you're the reason why I don't have money in the first place, because you have a spending problem. And they have this spending problem where they spent through the Inflation Reduction Act, which just exponentially increased inflation. It's ridiculous. These people, no. So basically the reason Americans can't afford school supplies, it's because of the Biden-Harris failed campaign or failed administration. I'm going to be right back. We have got to talk about Elon Musk. He lays out 7 different reasons, and I love these reasons for endorsing President Donald Trump. I also want to talk about CNN. CNN's been on one this morning. I don't know what it is, but they're like being really racist this morning. I found a lot of clips of CNNers, these journalismers. I refuse to call them journalists, by the way, because that is a term of professionalism, and these people are not professionals. But they went to, so CNN didn't go to a black barber shop, but ABC went to a black barber shop. They threw a white guy in a Michael Jordan t-shirt, an Air Jordan t-shirt, and they were like, oh, go interview some black people in a barber shop, right? Because they wanted to be a part of the group. And so ABC goes and interviews these people, but it turns out the people in the barbershop really don't like Kamala Harris. And the CNN host pulls this ABC clip and he goes on the attack. He starts ripping apart these black men in the barbershop for not liking Kamala Harris. And it's a bit racist if you ask me. I'm going to be right back. This is Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you're watching, go ahead and smash that like button. We're going to be right back. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. George is a Clinton toady. True. That's the Trump tax cuts to the wealthy. That's where the inflation comes from. What? No. So I don't understand for the wealthy. Dude, were you living in the same planet that I was when Trump was president? I don't know. Maybe you weren't living on the same planet I was when Trump was president, but I was working as a waitress at the time, and I had more money in my savings than I ever have had in my life before. Okay. When Trump was president, I was just a young waitress, working quite a bit. And my spending habits didn't really change. If anything, my spending habits have decreased over the years. Back then I was young, right? And I was buying cars and, buying a lot of things I couldn't afford. And I was, just starting out in life. And I had so much in my savings. And the reason for that is because the taxation was lifted. The federal taxation was lifted. I remember. I mean, I'm not stupid. I mean, I look at my taxes. I look at what comes out of my paycheck. I don't know if you do that, but I would highly recommend you go through your taxes. And, I don't know, maybe you did receive a tax cut because you're wealthy. I don't know, but I would look through your paychecks during the Trump presidency and look at how much was taken out, and then go through your paychecks now. Okay, if you have a job, I'd assume you have a job. And this is just the easiest way for people to understand what's going on. look at your life, look at your own finances. So this whole narrative that the Trump tax cuts were only for the wealthy is just not true. Now, I don't know, maybe you're a wealthy person, you can't do this, but I would recommend you sit down, look at your pay stubs, go through them from 2016 to 2020 and see how much was taken out of your paycheck. Then from 2020 to 2024, look at what's taken out now. Okay. That's the simplest way I can. And now that has a lot to do with what state you're in as well. Yeah, I would just sit down and go through your own finances and take a look. I can speak for myself. I was making way less money as a waitress, obviously, and spending way more money. And I had way more in savings when Donald Trump was president. You could make it on a waitress salary in a Donald Trump presidency. Now, I don't know if that would be possible. So I would comb through your finances, really sit down, think about, hey, did I have more money from 2016 to 2020, like saved up? Did I have more spending power? Because you go through and you look at your finances. Okay, I can only spend this much on groceries this year or this week. I can only do this, and this. I didn't even think about it when Trump was president. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I had so much money to where like you were just running through. I was just like going through life. And I mean, I had enough saved up to where I didn't even have to really worry or budget. With a Biden presidency, you have to budget. You have to make sure that you are budgeting for things like groceries. Okay. So, yeah, I would say that, look through your own finances. And 9 times out of 10, people will tell you that they had way more money. And I don't know. I mean, probably 10 out of 10. Okay. I've seen the grocery prices. The inflation is not Donald Trump's fault. He's been out of office for 4 years now. So I don't know how people continue to say that. And I don't know. I don't understand that logic. But we're going to walk through Elon Musk, why he decided to endorse Donald Trump. There's a few things that I want to run through. You probably don't need more reasons to vote for Donald Trump, but there are several reasons. So we're going to run through them. One of the reasons that Elon Musk is voting for Donald Trump is because he wants to reduce the size of government rather than encourage bureaucracy. And I think many Americans agree that more government means more problems. I got 99 problems in the government is all of them. So there is this fantastic ad out there that I'm going to actually share with you. It's a pro-Trump organization, and they released this ad. And I'm glad that you brought up the, Trump's tax cuts only benefit the wealthy and only benefit the wealthy while he was in office. I'm glad you brought that up because I want to share this. And really, it was Zen by President Trump's leadership. There was no really anxiety. There is anxiety due to Kamala Harris's incompetence and Joe Biden's incompetence. And there is an anxiety. I mean, we're on the brink of World War III. What? Is that Trump's fault too? The stock market crashing? Is that Trump's fault? We're back. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. This is Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. You can always be a part of the show. I really appreciate anybody being involved. Clifford, he's on the YouTube, and he commented, and he said, hey, inflation is up because the Trump tax cuts to the wealthy. That's where the inflation comes from. I don't know about that one because, folks, I was a waitress way back when I was, working as a waitress. Donald Trump was president. I had way more spending power and I was saving way more money on a lower salary. Okay. I was a waitress on a much lower income and I was saving way more money. I didn't even have to worry about budgeting things like grocery shopping. I didn't have to, say, oh, I can only spend $200 this week on groceries. Okay. I didn't do any of that. And I was spending way more money than I am now because I was a young kid and wasn't really thinking, but I could do it. And I had so much more in savings, which is absolutely insane. and you analyze a Trump's economy versus a Biden, and this is a pro-Trump organization, and they released this commercial, and it shows you the Zen-like state under a Trump presidency versus the utter chaos that we're in a Biden presidency. So even if the tax cuts, which isn't true, I encourage you to go look, and if you weren't uber wealthy, you could do this where you just go through your pay stubs, look at how much was taken out from 2016 to 2020, then you look at how much was taken out from 2020 to 2024, and if that number's higher, then it's Joe Biden's fault, right? Then your taxes went up higher. They don't even hide it, okay? They say that they're going to tax you more. So there was this pro-Trump organization. They put out this video. It's just great. It's this commercial. And we have things like an alien invasion and wars in almost every country. It's because of the oil sanctions, and he's pulled back on the oil sanctions, Joe Biden. And I'm not going to get into all of it here right now, but that's why we're dealing with this. That's emboldened dictators like the Venezuelan dictator who fraudulently has claimed victory in this last presidential race and election in Venezuela. You have the Iranian leaders who have become emboldened because we've removed oil sanctions and we've pulled back on those oil sanctions, and they have become emboldened dictators and fascists around the world, and that's why they are starting all of these wars. Okay, this has happened under Sleepy Joe's watch. This is why MAGA Incorporated has rolled out a series of ads reminding the masses how peaceful life used to be. Okay, did we have wars during 2016 to 2020? Did we, under a Trump presidency? Did we have that? No. Did we have an alien invasion? No. Did we have all these wars? Did we have record inflation? No. So the answer is very clear. Under Trump's leadership, there was no anxiety. Under a Kamala Harris leadership, there is incompetence and anxiety, and with that incompetence comes anxiety. So this video is really interesting. I'm not going to play it because the audio, it's just, a digital ad where, it was inspired by YouTube's TV's Enjoy the Zen ad breaks. So the ads are going to run in swing states until Election Day, and it targets counties and metro areas that Trump lost ground in between 2016 and 2020. I'm really excited for this ad because really what it does, it just shows you life prior to 15,000 migrants entering the country a day. That's 15,000 migrants a day entering into the country. It shows you what life was like prior to that problem. It shows you what life was like prior to these wars starting. The worst part about all of the troubles America is currently facing is that a vast majority were preventable. Okay, and it really seems as if the Dems are trying to destroy this country. If you were to look at this country, it looks like they're trying to destroy it. The left would like you to believe that they're all in it for the little guy, but they are anything but that. Their policies actively crush people trying to make ends meet, and they empower millionaires. Okay, and they'll be the loudest to say, "Oh, I gave you that child tax break. I gave you that child tax credit." Okay, but they refuse to give you the context that, hey, that child tax credit was only $300 for the entire year, and it was only for people within this certain income bracket. They refuse to give you that context, but they're the loudest to tell you, hey, I did that for you. Me, daddy government did that. They hate the middle class. Okay, the party that claims to hate the rich, they're the ones that really hate the middle class. The only candidate who has promised to fuel the economy, bring back energy independence. That is a big one. Bring back energy independence and to end the alien invasion that we're experiencing. That person's not Kamala Harris, folks. No, she has dedicated her campaign to not being Trump. That's all she stands for. I'm not Trump. Okay. Is it time to make America Zen again, to have peace? I think so. And I think that there's only one candidate who will bring that peace back, and it's got to be Donald Trump, right? So I want to get to Elon Musk. Yeah, let's play this clip here. I want to get to Elon Musk here because he's got several reasons why he's endorsing President Donald Trump. And I mean, there's many reasons why anyone with a fraction of a brain would vote for Trump over Harris. I'm going to give you several more reasons why. Elon Musk has revealed his top 7 reasons for voting for Donald Trump. The main reason being to want someone in the White House who isn't as pathetic as the guy that we've got currently in the White House. He's a puppet for the people in power. And, that is the main reason why we should not have Kamala Harris, because she would also be a puppet for the people in power. So if you didn't need more reasons, I wanted to share some reasons for voting for President Donald Trump today. Here we go. Let's take a listen.
There was tragically an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. After this, you tweeted that you endorse him. What's your philosophy behind that endorsement? What do you hope Donald Trump does for the future of this country and for the future of humanity?
People tend to take, say, an endorsement as, well, I agree with everything that person has ever done their entire life 100% wholeheartedly. And that's not going to be true of anyone. But we have to pick, we've got 2 choices really for who's president. And it's not just who's president, but the entire administrative structure changes over. And I thought Trump displayed courage under fire, objectively. He's just got shot. He's got blood streaming down his face, and he's fist pumping, saying "fight." That's impressive. You can't feign bravery in a situation like that. Most people would be ducking. There would not be, because it could be a second shooter. You don't know. The president of the United States got to represent the country, and they're representing you. They're representing everyone in America. Well, you want someone who is strong and courageous to represent the country. That's not to say that he is without flaws. We all have flaws, but on balance, and certainly at the time, it was a choice of, Biden, poor guy, has trouble climbing a flight of stairs, and the other one's fist pumping after getting shot. It's just no comparison. Who do you want dealing with some of the toughest people and other world leaders who are pretty tough themselves? And I'll tell you, what are the things that I think are important? I think we want a secure border. We don't have a secure border. We want safe and clean cities. I think we want to reduce the amount of spending that we're, at least slow down the spending. Because we're currently spending at a rate that is bankrupting the country. The interest payments on U.S. debt this year exceeded the entire Defense Department spending. If this continues, all of the federal government taxes will simply be paying the interest. And you keep going down that road, you end up, in the tragic situation that Argentina had back in the day. Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous places in the world. And hopefully with Milei taking over, he can restore that. But it was an incredible fall from grace for Argentina to go from being one of the most prosperous places in the world to being very far from that. So I think we should not take American prosperity for granted. So we really want to, I think we've got to reduce the size of government, we've got to reduce the spending, and we've got to live within our means.
So there you have it. I wanted to share all of that with you this morning because I think it's very important to hear Elon Musk's reasons why he had endorsed Donald Trump shortly after they tried to kill him. Firstly, he wants somebody in government that'll reduce the size of government rather than encourage bureaucracy, right? Bureaucracy is expensive, and it's expensive for you and me, the American taxpayer who lives in the private sector and actually lives in the real world. And I think many Americans agree that most problems go away if government is not so big. And really what it is, it's just cutting out their salaries. I mean, it's very expensive to prop up this side of the planet, or really this side of America, the public sector. It's too expensive to prop them up. They're losers. They never made it. They can't make it in the private sector, so they went to the public sector, and really we're just paying their way. It's kind of like You know how a kid goes off to college and you like pay and you say, yes, honey, I'll go ahead and pay for your college. But then they keep calling you and they're like, Mom, Dad, I need money for gas. I need money for groceries. And you're like, well, that wasn't the deal, right? That's what the government's like. They just keep saying, hey, we need money for this program, this program, this program, this guy to be the director of this agency, right? And it's too big. And I've got 99 problems, and the government is all of them. I'm going to be right back breaking down this video. Elon Musk laying out the reasons why he endorsed President Donald Trump. That's next on Conservative Cat. Good morning. Hey, if you're watching, go ahead and smash that like button. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every day. Tax job creators more. Does that make sense? We want jobs here, not overseas. Who pays taxes on corporations? Corporations don't, but you will. Yes. So the same, and I want to address this one more time. The tax Trump or the tax cuts on the wealthy. Democrats do this, but they do this the whole thing where it's winners and losers. So Trump tax cuts, I mean, you could argue that they were for everybody, wealthy, middle class. Now, what the Democrats do, specifically, I'll use JB Pritzker as an example. Okay, he's come out before and he has said that, hey, we have a certain group of industries that we want to see prosper here in Illinois. I mean, this is just factual. And he has given incredible tax breaks, huge millions of dollars to people like Goshen. Goshen makes electric vehicle batteries. They're connected with the CCP. They're actually connected with companies who engage in human rights atrocities, but that's a different story for a different day. But what Democrats will do, they'll pick winners and losers. Okay. So what Trump did was, hey, I'm just going to provide tax cuts across the board for everybody so that everybody wins. And if I get rid of these tax cuts and if I stop the spending, which I'm not saying Donald Trump didn't spend, that was one of the critiques that I have, that in the bump stock issue, but he spent less than President Joe Biden. Fact check me on that. But he spent less. And, you've got a situation where, in order to keep up this political, I know that Trump spent less because you look at the IRS agents, 70,000 plus. I mean, almost all of these 15 million new jobs that he claims, a third of them were bounce back jobs from COVID. Another, 5 million of them were foreign born workers. So, and then the rest of them were all government jobs, the 70,000 IRS agents. That takes that the government is not in the business of making money. They take money and then give it to these IRS agents whom they just hired on, right? So what the Democrats do in the case of Governor J.B. Pritzker, they pick winners and losers corporations. Okay, so they'll pick their buddies or their friends or even industries that they think will be successful, but there's no true indication that they are successful, like the electric vehicle industry. I want it to succeed as much as the next guy. But I think it should be pretty telling that Elon Musk is endorsing President Donald Trump and not the Democrats. He is the guy that started the electric vehicle. Okay. Do you really think that the guy who started the electric vehicle would be endorsing President Donald Trump if he thought that it was going to damage the EV industry? No. What Democrats do, they'll pick their buddies and they will prop up industries that their buddies are in. So that way they're successful. So they'll give tax breaks to electric vehicles, quantum computing, or, specific industries. Providing a tax cut across the board for wealthy people, corporations across the board, and not picking winners and losers is the best way the economy can be stirred up again and energized. Yeah, when people say, oh, they're just providing tax cuts for the wealthy, that's actually not true. They provide tax cuts for the middle class, working class, poor. They just do it across the board, and it just so happens that wealthy people, benefit as well. And who pays taxes on corporations? Corporations don't, but you will. Exactly. So we're providing all of these tax cuts for people like, or breaks for people like Goshen to exist here in the state of Illinois, the electric vehicle battery maker, but at whose expense? It'd be you and I, the average American taxpayer who has a job day in, day out and does the job and then gets taxed on a paycheck, right? We're propping up that sector so that their buddies can benefit. All right. And they pick winners and losers. In a Trump era, that didn't happen. They could just cut them across the board. And you can have your philosophical differences and say, oh, I don't think that the wealthy should be taxed at all, or they should have tax cuts at all, and they should be taxed. You can have those philosophical differences, but the facts are the facts. When you cut across the board taxes on everyone, wealthy, middle class, working class, poor, everybody benefits. Okay, we have just a plethora of financial history that suggests that that's true, that that's good for the economy. This picking winners and losers thing, which is exactly what the government is doing, that's bad for the economy. Woo! Hey, good morning. This is Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I want to get into Elon Musk and how he talks about the reasons why he wanted to endorse Donald Trump. One of the reasons is, to get somebody in office who isn't a total Marxist, who thinks bankrupting the economy is in the best interest of the country. Everyone voting in November would have lived under Trump's economy. And no matter how hard the media tries to gaslight people, nothing will change the fact that you had more money in your pocket then. Okay, that's just the facts. And everybody in voting in November knows that Donald Trump didn't turn out to be a dictator. He actually conceded the election. He stepped away from power, when he probably could have contested that 2020 election. We know it was stolen. But he stepped away from power and he said, okay, I'll step away. I'll run in 2024. We all lived under Donald Trump presidency where there were no new wars and we had the best economy. Okay. And I don't care how hard the media tries to gaslight people. You can't change the fact that you definitely had more money in your pocket. Thirdly, he talks about wanting safe and clean cities. The thing that you should do is vote for someone who advocates for law enforcement and not defunding the police. As it turns out, the mostly peaceful crowd is not so peaceful. Okay. The mostly peaceful protests, that's not what happened. And we don't have a secure border. And nearly every poll suggests that the border security is the top issue on Americans' hearts and minds. Okay. Illegal immigration is extremely unpopular with the American people. And it's time to get someone in office again who doesn't worsen the issue. And the best Harris can do is pretend that she was never the border czar, okay, and lie that she wasn't in charge of the worst border crisis in American history, okay? So it turns out mostly peaceful, they're not very peaceful, and defunding the police is a big problem, and people who advocate for defunding the police, they're a big problem. And it would be great if the president of the United States wasn't as weak as Sleepy Joe was, right? And actually stood up to world leaders instead of emboldening them to start new wars. Like I said, he's pulled back on these oil sanctions, which is a big problem. It's emboldened Venezuelan dictator to not step down after that election, after he clearly lost it. Okay, the Venezuelan dictator, Maduro. You see Iran, they're emboldened. Because of us laxing the oil sanctions on them, the $600 billion. I mean, that shortly after they got that from us, they were behind this Hamas terrorist attack that happened in October, right? So in addition to all of that, Trump getting assassinated or they attempted to assassinate him and vowing to keep fighting is one of the bravest things I've ever seen anybody do and a president do. There's no denying that energy is what people want in the White House. For all those reasons, Musk and I are going to be voting this November, and I hope you do too. I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. We'll be right back. Hey, good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every day. We are going to come back. We're going to talk about white women for Kamala. There was a video clip of about 120,000 or 160,000 white women on a Zoom call. And the Zoom call was titled White Women for Kamala. No, I'm just kidding. It just said like women for Trump or something like that. But it taught us that these white women are never allowed to correct black women. Okay, that's what the Zoom call host had said in that call with these 160,000 white women in the call talking about how they're endorsing Kamala and excited to vote for Kamala. White dudes for Kamala. Now, there was a white dudes for Kamala video. It taught us that real masculinity comes from being a simpy little pissant. White CNN hosts for Kamala teaches us to rescue Kamala Harris at all costs, and that's the case here, even if that means insulting black people, and that's the case here. This is probably one of the most racist videos I've ever seen in my life, I'm gonna be honest. Now, his name is Michael Smirknush. I don't know. I don't watch CNN. Do you? But I saw this clip and I was just like, my mouth dropped to the floor. I was like, what? This guy actually said this? It's not racist if the person of color in question has a different opinion than a white progressive. Okay, so it's only racist to insult black people or correct black people if they don't have the opinion that of a white progressive. So I'm gonna play this. This is truly incredible clip. And no, he played a clip. The CNNer, journalismer Michael Kernorish or whatever his name is. He plays this clip of a CBS reporter that went to a barber shop. Now, this is a black barber shop, and he started to, ask questions of the black men in the barber shop. And it turns out that the black men in the barber shop really don't care for Kamala Harris. Okay, they don't like Kamala Harris. They're not voting for her. They made that clear in this CBS News clip. And everybody knows if you want the scoop, you go to a barber shop, right? And to blend in, CBS, they of course dress this white guy in an Air Jordan t-shirt. You're going to see this, and these people in this barber shop, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, they're not too excited about the prospect of a Madam President. And they said, look, she maybe if the candidate was black, right, they'd vote for her. But it turns out that these black men in the barber shop, they say that's not Kamala. Kamala Harris isn't black. So CNN airs this clip of CBS News where this journalism goes and he interviews these people in a black barbershop, and he just rips. I mean, this guy, Michael Smirknush, who's on the radio in Pennsylvania, he insulted these guys on air on CNN. So I'm going to chat with you about that here next. And then this is going to be the final segment. So you guys better smash that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let me get to you some of your comments here. If you want more cops, you have to pay for it. I don't think we need more cops. I think that we need to, just fund the cops that we do have, and, staff them to normal levels, the police officer. So hold on. Woo! Hey, good morning. This is Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Now, I want to get to this clip. This is an incredible clip. Now, I watched this Zoom call. It had 160,000 white women in it, like single cat ladies, okay? Childless cat ladies, as I'd call them. Now, after watching that Zoom call, I was taught that white women are never allowed to criticize or correct black women because they're inherently racist if they do so, and you should never correct a black woman if you're white. Now, white dudes for Kamala, this was a separate video where they were, hosting some sort of Zoom call, and they were talking about masculinity, and apparently that video taught us that real masculinity comes from being a simpy little pissant. Okay, so what does white CNN hosts for Kamala teaches us? This is a video that I'm going to play for you. This white CNN host rescues Kamala Harris at all costs, even if that means insulting black people, which is exactly what this guy did. See, it's not racist if the person of color in question has a different opinion of a white progressive. It's okay to insult or even say something racist about that individual because, oh, well, that black guy doesn't have the right opinion. All right. So hence we have Michael Smirnikosh, Smirkanish, I don't know. He's a CNN guy, and he tries to white-splain to dudes in a barber shop. Okay. So this CNN guy played a clip from CBS. And everyone knows if you want the scoop, you go to a barber shop, right? And to blend in, we've got this CBS journalismer who's dressed in an Air Jordan t-shirt, which I just think is so funny that these people are they're so racist. But let's take a listen here to this CNN guy talking about the ABC clip. Okay, so this is an ABC journalismer who went out and he dressed himself in an Air Jordan t-shirt, went into a barber shop and started asking questions of people in that barber shop. Here we go.
Is Kamala going to make you a little more likely or less likely to vote Democrat?
Well, hold on, first, Ray, hold on, Ray. Is Kamala black? Yes or no?
I'm going to let her speak on that. But to me, no.
Oh, is Kamala black? Yes or no?
I share that same view.
Wow, is Kamala black? Yes or no?
I heard she was. I heard she's half black and half Asian.
When I played that audio on my SiriusXM radio program on Thursday, many callers who self-identified as African-American were quick to tell me that those men were the exception, not the rule. Some described them as low-information voters, no different than you'd find among whites.
Is Kamala good?
Yikes. Okay, so this guy, Michael Smirkanish from CNN, he plays this CBS News clip, and everyone knows if you want the scoop, you go to a barbershop. And like I said, in the clip, the CBS clip that he plays on CNN, the journalist is actually wearing an Air Jordan t-shirt, which I just find super funny. One would think that given Kamala Harris's glass ceiling shattering presidential campaign, these gentlemen from Pennsylvania, this is a Pennsylvania barbershop, they'd be excited about the prospect of a Madam President. Nope. Clearly they were not. Maybe if the candidate was black, but according to these black men in the barbershop, Kamala Harris isn't all that black. So CNN, they could have just not aired this clip. That's what's beautiful about this. This was from CBS News. It wasn't even like their own journalists who went out to this barbershop. They pulled this from a different media outlet so they could have pretended the conversation. Like they could have pretended that this conversation never happened, but they chose to air this clip from a different media outlet. But like I said, they didn't have to. They could have pretended this conversation never happened. It's not too much unlike how they pretend Kamala Harris has never held a position on anything prior to a week and a half ago, or how they pretend that she's not flip-flopping, right? Okay, they could have just done that. They could have not aired this clip. No, the CNN broadcaster, this was so CNN could give this broadcaster, Michael Smirkanish, who's on the radio, by the way, in Pennsylvania, they wanted to give Michael the ability to insult these black men. Even worse, compare them to white people. So, quote, this is what he says: when I played that audio on my CMS XM radio program, many callers who self-identified as African-American were the exception, not the rule. They said that these men in this Pennsylvania barbershop were the exception, not the rule. Some described them as low information voters, no different than you'd find among whites. Wow, that's kind of racist. Why even bother showing this segment? Really, why bother showing this segment? It was from a rival news network, ABC, right? Or CBS. It was, I can't keep up with the alphabet people. These are alphabet people: CNN, ABC, CBS. It was from a rival news network. CNN took it, aired it for no reason other than the fact that they wanted this CNN host to be a white knight and a white knight for Kamala Harris. Really, so he could come rescue her. That's it. That's the reason why CNN aired that clip. They showed the segment from CBS News to insult these black men in it as low information and no different than white people. How racist is this? I mean, this is going to be the journalisming that they do for the next 4 months, and I think that we need to prepare accordingly. This is truly despicable stuff. But CNN has been on one lately. I do want to wrap things up here quickly, but don't forget George Stephanopoulos, okay? George Stephanopoulos lashed out at a black congressman. So they're freaking out because the black voters are excited. He's got black surrogates. Donald Trump does. He's got a lot of them. And this whole, Donald Trump is racist thing is losing its effect. So we know that the media would come to the defense of Kamala Harris and they'd call every criticism against her a racial slur of some kind. So, criticizing her and saying, hey, you used to call yourself Indian American. Now you're calling yourself African American or black. But what's up with that? Now, if you question that, apparently you're racist, even though she's the one who came out and said that she was Eastern Indian American, right? She said that she's an Indian American. There's plenty of clips out there where she says she's an Indian American. Associated Press called her an Indian American, okay? So George Stephanopoulos, he attacked Byron Donalds live on air. He wanted to get Byron Donalds to, get him to dance for him and get him to attack Donald Trump and get him to denounce what Donald Trump had said about Kamala Harris just recently calling herself black. Okay. Apparently, it's also racist to call Kamala Harris extreme, radical, liberal. That's all racist. You can't be critical of her and of her record. The fact that when she was a U.S. senator, she never worked with the other side of the aisle. I mean, that's just a fact. She never co-sponsored bills with the other. Very few. Let me correct myself. Very few bills did she ever work with the other side of the aisle. That's why she's deemed the most liberal U.S. senator in American history. So I've got to go, but thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Conservative Cat, you can find me on YouTube. Type it in your search bar. Really do appreciate all the time you spend with me. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day and keep going this week. You've got this. All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to subscribe. Democrats are in fear of the black community because the black community is awake. Yes. So they always tend to put their thumb down on the black community. And like I said, the child tax credit thing here in Illinois is a beautiful example of that. Hey, we're going to throw $300 at you. Quite literally, it's going to amount to 20 cents a day. And we're going to make sure that you vote for us in every election thereafter because we did this thing for you. I've seen it on campus where they go and the Democrats, they'll go ahead on ISU's campus or, on college campuses across the state. They'll go ahead, hand out McDonald's gift cards to people. Okay. They'll keep you under their thumb, but it's not working anymore. The black community is awake and they're not, if you ain't voting Democrat, you ain't black. Exactly. I think that was the most racist clip I've ever seen. I don't know. Let me know in the comments section where this guy says, they're low information voters, similar to that of white people. What does that even mean? All right. You guys have a blessed day. Be sure to subscribe and share this out with your friends. Bye-bye.